Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. How are you doing today? I trust that you've had a great week. I think it's safe to say compliments of the season today. We're officially in the best season of the year. Decorations everywhere you go, Christmas lights here and there, and all those things. So, compliments of the season. And in that same spirit, I'd like to say thank you to everyone that has subscribed so far. We hit 100 subscribers, yay! And I'm so excited about that. Thank you for watching, thank you for sharing, thank you for liking. Most importantly, thank you for subscribing and just pushing this out there. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And if you are still yet to subscribe, this is your first time here, you're welcome. Glad to have you. My name is Abiola, the media HR, and my work here is just walking you through HR, the complexities of HR, and all that interesting stuff, and making the profession just interesting again. So do well to subscribe, leave a comment, rewatch videos, and let me know what you think in the comment section as well. Okay, so to what I will be talking about today. In my last video, I spoke about what HR does, what are the functions, right? Just speaking briefly on the core functions of HR, highlighting what HR should be doing, or what HR is meant to do in the organization. Today, I have come for the rest of the people in the organization. Yes. The other employees, right? What are they meant to do? And it's safe to say that my HR is this, my HR is that, and all that. But the reason why, you may have the HR professional or the HR team in your organization doing some of the things that they do, it might just be because you on the other end, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And I know people may think that, oh, well, I show up to work and I do my job and that's it. But then I'm sure that as we go on in this video, you may see some things or you may learn some things that you didn't know before. So I hope that will be the case anyway, that as we go on, you will get to learn things, new things, right? And so I would like to start off by saying that in the Nigerian ecosystem, we have what we call the Nigerian Labour Act. And that is the law that guides all forms of employment, or that provide guidelines with regards to employment in Nigeria. So it has all the principles, all the guidelines covering everything that you can think of, right? Everything is there in the Nigerian Labour Act. And according to the Nigerian Labour Act, there are certain duties that an employer and an employee have to fulfill to each other. Because it's a relationship, right? There's a relationship between the employer and the employee. So there are duties. So I'll quickly run through each of these, the one meant for the employer and the one meant for the employer. But I'm going to dwell more on the one for employee because I'm here today to defend my profession. And and all of you people that have been dragging us, well, that's just a joke. But yes, so that we can all get an understanding of what is expected. So first things, the first duty of an employer to an employee is the duty to pay wages. You're expected, as an employer of labor, to pay whoever you have employed wages or salary, as the case may be. Secondly, duty to provide work. There must be work for them to do. So your duty as an employer is that you must provide work to be done or to be carried out by the employee that you have hired. Third duty, to provide a safe system of work, safe environment, Healthy work environment. Health and safety is one of the in my last video I mentioned health and safety as one of the functions of HR. So make sure your duty as an employer is that you must provide a safe system of work. You must also provide a place of work. There must be somewhere that the employees come to say, okay, we're resuming here, and we're resuming here to carry out our work, and afterwards we can go back to our house. I mean, yes, remote work is now a thing, but then as that's why you see some organizations who hire remote workers, pay them some sort of allowance to be able to set up a workplace within their house, just so that they have a place to work, right? Duty of care. An employer has a duty of care to every employee, so they have the responsibility to take care of the employee as soon as they resume in the work premises, 5 times a week or 3 times a week, as the case may be. And the last one is duty to provide testimonial or reference. There's more, but like I said, I would dwell more on the duties of an employee to an employer, because today I'm here to defend my profession. Okay, so, and now remember that all of this is not by me. This is, as stated in the Nigerian Labour Act, is by law. So this is what you're expected to do. Now, so duties of an employee to an employer. Number one, duty to offer service. So if you have been hired by someone to do work, or to for a particular job function, job role, the expectation is you have a duty to offer that service. So you cannot be hired by someone and then you're not doing anything. You're sitting around, and this is where there are various scenarios that come to mind in case for something like this, where people come to work, they show up to work late, and then they spend an hour or two trying to first recover because they've already arrived late, or maybe they left their house late, they sat in traffic for like 2 hours, and then they get to work, they are fatigued already, and all those things, and then they don't start working till about 10:30, 11 a.m. when you were supposed to have resumed either 9 or 8. And then once it's 12, they say, okay, I'm going for lunch. They take an hour to eat lunch, and all those things. And at the end of the day, you are not exactly provided service for that day to your employer, of which you are supposed to. So the number one duty of an employee to an employer, whoever's hired them, is the duty to offer service. You must deliver the service that you have been hired for. Second duty, you must be ready and willing to work. Duty to be ready and willing to work. It's a duty that you are bound by law to fulfill to your employer. So if you're not ready for work, or if you're not willing to work, don't bother taking up the role, or don't bother taking up the job offer. Cases where someone says, oh, my parent wants me to work and all of that. Don't bring that into the workplace, right? Don't. If you're not ready to work, if you're not willing to, because whatever it is that you're going to do, you're not going to offer your best, and you have a duty to be ready and willing to work to your employer, right? You have to fulfill that duty. So if there are, we have personal reasons or personal preferences and all those other beautiful things, then don't accept the job, right? Okay, so the third duty not to willfully disrupt the employer's undertaking, means that you are not willfully going against what you have agreed in your contract of employment, right? So there are certain things that might have been stated in your offer letter, what we call offer letter or contract of employment, as the case may be. There are certain things that there: resumption time, the number of leave days you're entitled to, your wages, your allowances, conflict of interest, notice period, you have a duty to not willfully disrupt that undertaking that you have signed. So you cannot just show up one month. And this happens a lot in the Nigerian ecosystem. Someone just resigns and then they don't show up to work and they say, well, I don't feel like working anymore. You have a duty to willfully uphold the contract that you have signed. So if you sign in the contract that you have to give a notice period of 2 months, or you pay in lieu of that notice period, that's what you're going to do. And so when you encounter an HR that says, no, you cannot resign, and wants to enforce that the right of the employer, you then begin to say, no, HR is wicked and all those things. No, because you have a duty as an employee to uphold, or to uphold. There's another duty that says loyalty. We're also going to get to that, right? So you have a duty to not willfully disrupt your employer's undertaking. Whatever you're signing in agreement within your period of service or within your period of employment, you are to uphold it. If for any reason things come up, and this is why we have the word HR, human resource, right? So humans are the ones who sit in these offices, who are the HR managers and all of that. If anything comes up, if there's a situation, you can always walk up to your HR to say, okay, this has happened. Because of this, I might not be able to fulfill this. How do we go about it? How do we manage it? And then it becomes a discussion, or it becomes a conversation. The human side of the profession then comes to play at that point. But it is not the right of an employee to willfully disrupt work and then you just don't show up to work, or various other scenarios. There are so many examples, but yeah, so that's the third duty that an employee has to an employer. Fourth one, duty to obey reasonable and lawful orders. This is pretty clear. The order must be lawful. If it is not lawful, you have a right not to obey the orders. But duty is to obey reasonable or lawful orders. If in the line of your duty you're being asked to break the law or to do things that contravenes the law or regulations, of course you're not expected to obey that. But then if it is reasonable, if it is lawful, if it's a lawful order, lawful instruction, the duty is to obey it. Number 5 is my favorite one. This is where I'm going to drag a lot of people. Duty to give exclusive service. Remote workers left the group chat. Duty to give exclusive service, and this means to work only for the employer in the employer's time. Let me put on my phone so that I can expatiate a bit on this. So people who say, I can do 2 or 3 jobs as far as it's not affecting one or the other and all those things. Great. But then by law, the duty, except if this is something that is expressly stated in your contract of employment, where your employer says you are allowed to work for any other organizations that are not my competitors. Some organizations do that, where they allow their employees to be able to do other things, work with other people, but then they have certain terms and conditions. It must not be my competitor or not on my own time. That's fine. We already established, the duty of an employee is to make sure that they uphold the undertaking or the agreement that is signed, right? And so if your employer is okay with it, oh, good and fine, excellent, great. Of which some organizations do that. They support it. They say, look, I want you to be able to do other things. So at your free time, feel free to do anything, but let it not be with so. They have terms and conditions. But if it is not expressly stated, you should not be working for another employee on another employer on another employer's time. So company A has hired you and they say, Mr. Daly, your resumption time is 8 to 5 p.m., right? And then, because there's inflation in Nigeria, you want to, you want to be a baller and all those things. You're like, okay. Company B comes with their offer to you, say, oh yeah, now let's do this, and then you sign up with them, and then you're doing both jobs at the same time. You're breaking the law. Yes, it's actually breaking the law, because you have a duty of exclusive service to whichever employer you have signed up with. So it's either your employer is okay with it and expressly states that on your free time you can do whatever you want, or you are doing another job or doing another thing not on the time of your employer, you're doing it on your other free time. So you resume at 8, whatever you do from 12 midnight to 8 a.m. does not concern your employer, to be honest. You close by 5, whatever you do from 5 p.m. till your resumption time doesn't concern your employer, so you can do anything within that time, but you have the duty to give exclusive service to work only for your employer in the employer's time. The sixth duty is duty to account for profits received. So for if your job functions allows you to be able to receive certain profits on behalf of your employer, or allows you to receive certain financial gains or something, you have a duty to account for it. You also have a duty to declare this profit, right? I mean, I don't know, no scenario is coming to my head, but I'm sure there are some people that would probably fall into this category. Maybe you work in finance, or you work in accounts, or cashiers, in supermarkets and all those ones. You have a duty to account for profits received. The seventh duty of an employee to an employer is duty to respect the employer's trade secrets. You're not to be sharing the trade secrets of your organization. This is what you guys do. This is the product you sell, or this is the service you provide. And then you're sharing the trade secrets. Just in case some people don't know what trade secrets is, it's the peculiarity of your organization, right? Your craft, what you guys do and what you do best, or what allows you to be able to stand out in the market or in the industry, and then you're sharing it. You have a duty to respect and not disclose your trade secret. Typically some organizations will have you sign an oath of confidentiality once you're coming in, to say, I'm not going to disclose any information that I come across in the period of my employment with anyone. I'm going to keep customer information confidential. I'm going to keep trade secrets confidential, and some people will even go ahead to include non-compete clauses in the employment contract, to say, even after you've left us 1 year or 2 years, I mean minimum is 1 year in most cases that I've seen, they'll tell you that you can't work for a competing or another competing organization in the industry for 1 year, because you can get there and then you just begin to divulge all of our trade secrets. So non-compete clauses are something that some employers include in the contract of employment to to avoid cases like this. And the last duty, according to our Nigerian Labor Act, remember that's where all of this is gotten from, it's not from me, is a duty to take reasonable care of the employer's property and to exercise reasonable care and skill in the employer's service. So the laptops that you're given for work, or the mobile phone, take care of it like it's your own, right? Don't just leave it on. Some people don't shut down their laptops. They just turn it on, and when they're going close for the day, they just close the laptop. They don't shut it down, and they can do that for the whole week. I mean, come on, you're probably going to damage that work tool in the long run. Mobile phones that you're giving, some people don't, they lose it, they don't take care of it. It even comes down to the equipment in the office, your office chair, your workstation, the microwave in your kitchen if you have one, all those little things. So you have a duty to take reasonable care of your employer's property because they were purchased with money, right? People who leave their offices, you leave, you don't turn off the AC. Not even in this time where electricity charge is a lot in our country, Nigeria. So you need to be as mindful of these things the same way you're mindful of your own property. When you're in your house, how do you take care of your things? What do you do to make sure that your laptop stays longer or is durable? What do you do to make sure that your phone is well taken care of? Replicate those same actions to your employer's property. You also have a duty of skill. Make sure that you are showing up as your best self to your workplace, right? You have that duty because remember that your employer has a duty to pay you wages, but he has that duty to pay you wages for service that you're provided, for the quality of service you've provided. So if you've not provided quality service, your employer can stand on their right to say, look, I'm not going to pay you because you've not done the job well, right? So just a quick recap of the duties that an employee has to an employer: duty to offer service, duty to be ready and willing to work, duty not to willfully disrupt the employer's undertaking, duty to obey reasonable and lawful orders, duty to give exclusive service, duty to account for profits received, duty to respect the employer's trade secrets, and duty to take reasonable care of the employer's property and to exercise reasonable care and skill in the employer's service. Now, as I conclude this video today, in the words of Professor Hallfield, right, he says that where a duty exists, a corresponding right exists. So that means that you as an employee, you have a duty to fulfill. In the same vein, your employer has a corresponding right to exercise, and this is vice versa. So it means that if you do not fulfill these duties, your employer has a right to exercise, to say he or she has not done this, so I'm exercising my right not to do this as well. In the same vein, if your employer does not fulfill his or her duty, you as an employee, you have the right to, exercise your rights and say, because you've not done this, I'm not going to do this, and all of that. So, and Professor Alfred also says that where a duty is breached, the other party can enforce his right or what he stands to benefit if the duty had been carried out. So it's vice versa. And I hope that with this video, you now understand your duties as an employee to your employer. Because what would happen is when you do not fulfill this duty, the employer has the right to exercise or to carry out certain actions that may or may not be in your favor. And like I said, vice versa, you also have the right to do that as well. And this is where the HR comes in. And sometimes, the HR function is so dynamic such that, when people ask, who is the HR for? The HR is usually for the management or the business, or the HR is for the employee. The truth is, HR is for everybody and HR is for nobody. Because sometimes you'll be required to exercise the rights of the employee. Sometimes you'll be required to exercise the rights of the employer, right? So you see that our role is very dynamic, and it takes a lot more than showing up to just hire and fire people, or showing up to say you came late, take query, or you were eating in the lunchroom, or all those things. It requires more than that. You need to know when, or what field you are playing in part time. So, in summary, as an employee, remember this video is focused on you, an employee. The focus or the expectation is that you carry out your duties, fulfill your duties as you should, right? Carry out your responsibility, show up to work, offer your diligent service, offer exclusive service, make sure that you are doing what is expected of you by law. Remember, these are not just abstract things, they are guided by the Nigerian Labour Act, which is the law that guides all of our employment functions. So do that and make sure that you are not in any way contravening these laws. And then I would go, in the next videos, it will be more addressed to the HR professionals and how we can also walk around ensuring that we're carrying out our duty as representatives of the employer, or from time to time, right? Because we must never forget that HR is an employee too in the organization. So I think I'll stop here today. I hope that with this video you've learned something. I would look forward to hearing your comments, reading what your thoughts are, or questions that you may have. Until the next video, make sure that you take care of yourself. I will see you again. Bye.